Once we're honest to ourselves, the biggest healer for our planet is agriculture. It has the largest footprint. It has the largest footprint. More than our vehicles and other things. Um, it's really important to understand. And when we leave the ground bare, what's happening is we're reflecting light energy called latent and sensible heat, and so that soil surface heats up and it pushes clouds, rain clouds away. 40% of our rain comes from the terrestrial system, living plants. Plants draw in rain, trees, vegetation. 60% comes from the ocean. So the more bare ground you leave, the more it impacts it. Let's give you a perspective in our country. Do you know that more than a great percentage of our land is bare during the winter? We could be growing a green cover crop, a green winter cover crop, and it could be green. So October, November, December, January, February, March, all the way into April is bare ground. So when it rains and we get snow, we get erosion. So it's, and then the drier regions as we go out west, California and that, leaving the ground bare, our country used to be grasslands. Half of the United States was grasslands. We knew that by the Spaniards when they conquered California, New Mexico, and the largest parts of all that at that time in the 1500s. It was grassland. Now it's desert because there's no more vegetation and it's pushing the rain clouds away. So think about it, 50% of our area and of our country is reflecting heat, not capturing, it's not drying rain. So yes, we're having desertification and massive desertification in the United States. In fact, desertification is moving east beyond the meridian line where they call it 30th meridian. I think that's what it is, and it's it's becoming more desert and it's changing our local climate and it's getting drier and drier. Either we get a lot of rain at one time. It's not steady anymore. It's either lots of rain or very dry. Right now in my farm here in Missouri, we haven't had rain in 2 months, almost nearly 2 months, very little. So it's an issue, but that's a global issue too. So when you affect the small water cycle, you affect the large water cycle on a global scale. That's the issue in my mind. And if your audience wants to find out more, they should go on YouTube and listen to Walter Yenning. Walter Yenning. He does a really good job explaining these cycles.
Hmm. And one thing I found fascinating when I was studying agronomy is the fact that it's really a vicious cycle because if the ground is bare and it starts to erode, then it will be and and because of climate change, the rains are the same volume, but just the pattern is different, and so it can rain the same during the year, but it's going to be more concentrated, and so heavy rain on a bare ground is actually going to create, I'm not sure what the term in English is for that, but
A crust and
a layer
yeah,
of hard ground, which will then make it even less likely for the rain to infiltrate the soil and for
yeah,
plants and the soil life to grow and to breathe and all of that. So it's really a vicious cycle.
yeah.
Um, so
The
yeah,
the the term in the dry area is called solarization. You create this crust, and it creates and it doesn't penetrate, but just a regular crust is what your whole point is, and it just runs off more, and you get more erosion, no infiltration, and it's
more
good to bring it
floods,
up. Yeah,
more
and more
floods.
floods. And so I think people need to understand the difference between acute stress or chronic stress. If you eat bad food one time, that's an acute stress on your body. Chronic stress, you keep eating poorly and you go to fast food and you eat horribly, that's chronic stress. So same thing with tillage or leaving the soil chronically bare. So the whole point is how we use these tools or practices. It can make a huge difference how we can help the planet and help the human health.
That's actually what I wanted to talk about next because we're talking right now about the ecosystem, and we humans are part of the ecosystem, which is something a lot of people seem to forget about, or at least not conceptualize fully.
Connect, yeah.
So these practices make
Yeah.
our habitat less optimal for us in a way, but they also impact us directly. And I was actually thinking about public health. So you alluded to it earlier, but can you tell us a little bit, like, for example, pesticides and herbicides,
Yeah.
how they impact farmers' health? Or you also alluded to the impoverishment of the soil, which leads to
Yeah.
nutrient poor food for everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, can you tell us a bit about what you think about all this?
Good question. Let's start off with the the deprivation of the soil. How the soil is so degraded with nutrients, and our immune system, even the complexity of our bodies, need trace minerals. They need those minerals. Our immune system, everything we do, our health needs those, and they starts with the soil. So if the soil is completely diminished and so who brings the nutrients out of the rock? It's the fungi, the bacteria, the living organisms. They do that in conjunction with the plants. So if you have a system that's already degraded and diminished, then what happens is the plant does not pick up the nutrients, and the animal doesn't pick up the nutrients that we eat. So the plant that we eat and the animals that we eat don't have the nutrition, then we are nutrition deficient.
If you enjoyed this, you should definitely check out the full episode. It's available on this very platform, so see you there.